This guy's like a chiropractic legend and has some very unique beliefs.
Are you ready to get controversial? Chiropractic started 1895 by D.D. Palmer. They called him the most dangerous man outside of a prison. Medical doctors would pay police officers to arrest chiropractors in their office. When you went to a chiropractor, you had to go with a friend because the chiropractor had the speakeasy on their door. And if you weren't with the friend, they would just, I'm not a chiropractor, I don't know what you're talking about.
Because you'd get in trouble?
You'd get in trouble. Athletes like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Michael Jordan. First person that he thanked in his retirement, his chiropractor. My mission is 8.2 billion people seeing their chiropractor every week. Do I believe there will be a massive conscious shift in humanity when folks are having their spine checked every week around the world? Absolutely.
Have you ever heard of someone that's like cracked a neck and now they're paralyzed? What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, as always, I got a real treat for you. Dr. Mark J. Romano in the house to drop some bombs. If you guys don't know who he is, you can find him Instagram at Mark J. Romano, Facebook, Family Chiropractic. This guy's like a chiropractic legend and has some very unique beliefs I want to dig into today. First, as we were talking in the green room a little bit, you know, you were talking about how you're a non-therapeutic
Correct.
chiropractor.
Correct.
What's the difference between non-therapeutic and therapeutic?
Man, that's a great question. Do you want to go into chiropractic history a little bit? Or do you want to go right into that?
Well, I'm just curious.
Well, chiropractic is this amazing profession that the public doesn't know what it is. There are two separate models in the chiropractic profession. One of the models is chiropractic as a therapy, that chiropractic is physical medicine, that if we look at the adjustment of what we call vertebral subluxations. That's these tiny bone misalignments of the spine, these vertebrae, these 26 donuts, if you will, that stack up on top of each other and form a tunnel. And through the holes of that tunnel is the spinal cord. Spinal cords being a little bit bigger than your thumb, and it's very delicate nerve bundles that go through the holes of the vertebrae and turns into the brain. The brain and spinal cord is the organ used to coordinate all body function. Now, these donuts, they constantly misalign from birth because of these countless stresses. It's not this big, huge misalignment. It's a tiny misalignment that causes the holes not to line up around the brain spinal cord and the nerve roots between the donuts. This tiny pressure interferes with the structure of this delicate nerve tissue, which ultimately interferes with the function. And so now life cannot flow from the brain to the body back to the brain.
Now, when you say life, what do you mean?
There
life
is
energy?
Yes. Chiropractic is amazing because it combines the metaphysical with the physical. And chiropractic has this basic science. And in this basic science, it's a basic understanding. And we use deductive reasoning. So we start with what's called a major premise. And this major premise says that there is a universal principle of organization in all matter in the universe, continually giving it its property and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. So that's the a priori statement. Beyond that statement, you get into religion, God, where it came from. We don't go there in chiropractic. Chiropractic is not a religion. It's a basic science, applied science, and a philosophy. Now, within the human body, there is an inborn principle called the innate, means inborn, law of living things. And this principle simply controls and coordinates all the matter's function to work together. Now, you have these tissues that form organs and organs that form systems and systems that work together to have this life in the body. So the nerve system is how this innate law flows from the brain to the body back to the brain. When these bones of the spine misalign, very tiny misalignment, the nerve tissue changes in structure, which means it cannot conduct these, what we call innate impulses from the brain to the body back to the brain at 100%.
Wouldn't it do the same if I went like this?
Well, we don't know because what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing when you say
I'm moving my spine.
Okay.
So if like that's in alignment, well, then that's out of alignment.
Well, then I would say, how do you know that it's in alignment and out of alignment?
How do you?
That's what we're going to get into, because that's a great question. And Brad, I'm a fan. Try not to be starstruck here, because I'm a fan. I've been watching you for years, and this is so exciting for me. So for you to ask me a question is so exciting. So with that being said, this brain and spinal cord controls the whole body.
Yeah.
And chiropractic started 1895 by a young fella named D.D. Palmer. And he was a pretty eccentric guy. He was a spiritualist. He was a magnetic healer. He was a farm fisherman, or a fisherman, like where he would grow and raise fish. He discovered that it was surface area and not depth of the water for the fish to survive in, and revolutionized a lot of things. And he had a theory that a bone in the spine could misalign and produce nerve interference. And he had his office in the Ryan Building in Davenport, Iowa. I want to say that it was on Brady Street. And there was a deaf janitor there named Harvey Lillard. And Harvey Lillard came into the office, and D.D. Palmer is said to have adjusted Harvey Lillard and had his hearing restored, where he could hear the carts moving up and down the cobblestone road. So D.D. Palmer thought he had the cure for deafness. Now, he had a son, B.J. Palmer, and B.J. Palmer may have been about 12 or 13 at that time. B.J. claims that he was in the room. D.D. said that my son was not in the room. Nobody was in the room. So chiropractic history is not without controversy. Now, D.D. Palmer writes all these books and opens up Palmer Infirmary.
Is that where Palmer Institute came around?
Yeah, well, that's what Palmer College of Chiropractic. Before it was Palmer College of Chiropractic, because D.D. Palmer wanted to keep it a family thing.
Well, how did you know? If he invented it?
Yes.
Why is it called chiropractic? And who decided that? Him?
Him, because back then, this is 1895.
So he could have called it anything.
He could have called it anything, but he went to his pastor, Samuel Weed, and he said, what should I call it? And his pastor, who happened to be knowledgeable in Greek, said, well, chiro means by hand, and practic means practice of. I love the name. So yes, he could have called it anything. And it was his son, BJ, that convinced him to open up Palmer School of Chiropractic and Infirmary in 1897. And now today, that's Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, which is called the Fountainhead, because every chiropractic college came from there. Wow. So they thought they had the cure for everything, because in 1895 and the early 1900s, I mean, even in medicine, the most common surgery was amputation, and you didn't have to be a medical doctor to do that. You could be a butcher as long as you moved fast. So a lot of people went to the hospital and died, and everything was very primitive. But a lot of people were going to this father and son team, and a lot of things were going away. And then BJ, who's the developer of chiropractic, he takes the school, goes to the next level. The father and son had a very tumultuous relationship. And eventually, D.D. Palmer, through lots of drama, ends up going to California. BJ is now in charge of the school. This school survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression. Women were treated with the same equality as men and enrollment. If you came back from a war, if you came out of prison, B.J. Palmer would tell you, look, go to school and you can pay me later. And he was quite an American Renaissance. He owned the first radio station west of the Mississippi.
That's not true anymore, is it?
What's that?
You can't just go to school and be a chiropractor.
No, it's not true. None of this is true anymore. We have regulations. This is before any regulations.
I was going to say, like, dude, that'd be a hell of a opportunity for someone coming out of prison.
And that's what BJ was doing. He wanted to give folks a second chance, an opportunity. BJ has a mansion, a beautiful Victorian mansion next to the school. And if you look up on the ceiling, you see these belts, and the belts that are tying a bunch of branches together for the ceiling. They had to destroy a tree to build the house. He had all the World War I and World War II GIs donate their belts, and all those belts to this day string all the sticks together. He was very eccentric. You can't even see the house anymore because he bought it. He paid about $23,000 for the house, and then later on paid $75,000 for an organ that's tuned to his ear. And they covered the front of the house because the pipes of the organ, BJ was just crazy, covers the front of the house. And he had the house renovated for that specific purpose. He had WHO, World Wonder of Chiropractic and World of Chiropractic, and he would broadcast from his house. Ronald Reagan worked for him for years, got his start in entertainment through B.J. Palmer. He was very close friends with Harry Houdini, Barnum, and Bailey. They would always stop and stay at his house whenever they were in town. B.J. bought the biggest circus wagon that they had. It took 60 horses to pull the circus wagon, and B.J. has it at his house in Sarasota, Florida. And
you say it as if he's still alive.
Well, he died in 1963. He was 81 years old. No, I'm sorry. He died in 1961. He was 81 years old. And truly an American Renaissance. He had a son, David, but David never had the impact that his father had. But even then, BJ was always about chiropractic getting sick people well, that every problem in the world is caused by these bone misalignments that we call vertebral subluxations that interfere with the expression of life. But the thing is, go ahead.
What kind of arguments would he have with medical doctors?
Oh, they called him the most dangerous man outside of a prison. And yes, at one point, chiropractors were going to jail for practicing medicine without a license. Now, these people, these men and women, these matriarchs and patriarchs of the profession, they are some of my true heroes, because during the 1910s, 1920s, medical doctors would pay police officers to arrest chiropractors in their office for practicing medicine without a license. Chiropractors could have paid the $100 misdemeanor fee, but out of principle, they said, no, we're doing something different. We're doing something separate and distinct. I would rather go to jail for these trumped up charges, and someone for 187 days, Herb Reaver, one of the most jailed chiropractors, I think he recently passed. Wonderful guy. I happen to be in a fraternity, Delta Sigma Chi, that all these chiropractors were a part of. BJ was a part of, Herb Reaver was a part of, and they would go to jail rather than pay this fine. And during this time was the biggest growth chiropractic ever seen. When you went to a chiropractor, you couldn't just go to a chiropractor. You had to go with a friend, because the chiropractor had the speakeasy on their door. And if you weren't with the friend, they would just, I'm not a chiropractor. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because you'd get in trouble.
You'd get in trouble.
Well, you guys don't prescribe medicine.
No.
So it's not medicine.
It's not medicine, but
it's healing.
And we evolved from there, Brad. But it was at this point, yes. And medicine felt like they had the monopoly on anything that dealt with the human body. BJ said, no, you don't. So there was so much battle going on that all these chiropractors would go to jail. And BJ Palmer never wanted state licensure because he felt there was too much politics involved. He wanted licensure to come from his school. But as an authority, BJ probably lost his authority over the whole profession in the late 30s. He had a research clinic at his school from 1935 to 1941. He wrote 44 books called The Green Books, and he lectured around the world, traveled the world. A brilliant man. Now, once he died in 1961, there was a young student that graduated before BJ died, and his name was Reggie Gold. And this guy, you talk about sharp, Brad. He was from London, tough. He was a Jewish man who fought in World War II in London. I mean, tough as nails. And he came over to the States, and he was an art dealer. And he went to a chiropractor in New York that had the speakeasy. And when he knocked on the door, and he heard the chiropractor and say, "Who is it?" And Reggie says, "Oh, yes, I am Reggie Gold. A friend of mine told me to come here because there's a chiropractor." And the guy yelled out, "There's no chiropractor here. I don't know what you're talking about." And then when Reggie said the name, the man let Reggie in, educated him on chiropractic. The very next day, Reggie, very eccentric, was on the next train or bus out to Palmer School of Chiropractic. And he graduated in the early 60s. And it was Reggie, when he's practicing, who discovered, look, not everybody who gets adjusted for vertebral subluxations gets well, and not everybody who is well stays well under chiropractic. But what we can say with absolute certainty, that every human being on the planet is better off when vertebral subluxations are adjusted so they can have a fuller expression of life, a fuller expression of innate impulse. It doesn't have to be a cure-all. And that is when chiropractic philosophy was revolutionized. And this happened in the late 60s, early 70s. So chiropractic went from physical medicine, a cure-all, to look, vertebral subluxations are unbelievably bad.
And everyone has them.
And everyone has them because they're they're a limitation of matter, that our body's limited. You can't cut off your arm and expect it to grow back. You can't hold your breath underwater for 17 days, you see, because our matter is limited.
Yeah.
So if we understand that there is a limitation of matter, and maybe we don't know where that limit is, but we know it does exist through this observation, we know that every human being functions better when vertebral subluxation, when they're in the habit of having their spine checked for vertebral subluxations for a better expression of life. And going back to your question earlier, how do I know? Chiropractors develop different techniques over the years. You have some fine chiropractors on Lightspeed, and I am privileged to be one of those chiropractors for almost 8 years, and I love Lightspeed. The whole program, we'll go into that later. There are different techniques. And when we look at the techniques of chiropractic, what we're looking at is, one, an analysis that we don't know what's normal for each individual person. No human being knows that. Does not matter what profession you're in.
Because everyone's different.
Everybody's different. So in chiropractic, where we're combining the metaphysical with the physical, we have something called innate normal, that your inborn normal for what you are changes from moment to moment based on the demands of the internal and external environment that your body is in.
Yeah.
And we don't know that. So in chiropractic, we've developed different analysis to try to determine what is the innate law trying to do to, one, restore that vertebral subluxation back to its innate normal position. No chiropractor knows where that innate normal position is.
Is it like one of those cryptic locks that you just have to keep figuring out?
I wouldn't say it's a cryptic lock, but that's very close in an analogy. I can tell you my analysis. Now, there are analysts that want to say your spine should have these angles. Your spine should be this straight. I don't adhere to that school of thought, because that's saying that you know what's innate normal. I would say that nobody has a straight spine. We're born, our right and left side grow independent of each other. We're one-sided dominant. That doesn't make sense to me.
So how do you know that you've adjusted it if you don't know where it's supposed to be?
And this is where I love it, okay? I can give you my technique. I use what's called advanced muscle palpation. That means that there's one system in your body designed for motion, and that would be the muscular system. So you have these tiny muscles along the spine called paraspinal muscles, from the occiput atlas all the way down to every vertebra and to the sacrum and pelvis as well. And this is where we're going into the thinking of why. We're constantly questioning why. When a vertebral subluxation is present, your body knows this is a very bad thing. The intelligence in your body, the principle, this innate principle, has one function, and that is to maintain the structure in which it resides, to adapt. And this is a principle, much like the law of gravity is a principle, or the entropy, extropy, the law of inertia, the law of centripetal or centrifugal force. These are all laws. They don't think; they simply are. And this innate law simply is that its job is to maintain the structure in which it resides in balance, in adapting to the internal and external environment. So when a vertebral subluxation occurs, the innate law knows that this is a very bad thing.
And everyone has one.
Yes, brother. Everybody does.
What happens if I come in weekly and get it adjusted? Like, is it a day later it's subluxationed again?
A vertebral subluxation could happen a day later, could happen 2 hours later.
Will it happen?
It will eventually happen, yes.
So how often should one go in and get it adjusted?
Idealistically, you could come in every day for the rest of your life. I see my chiropractor 2 to 4 times a week for the past 40 years. I won't recommend less for anybody else to get checked. Now, going back to the analysis, when a vertebral subluxation is present, the muscles are trying to pull the bone back in place. Mm-hmm. So if we can feel the muscles and we could see, okay, this muscle here is working to try to pull the bone back in place. we can determine A, the presence of a vertebral subluxation, and B, the direction in which the body is trying to make the adjustment. So what we do as chiropractors is once we make that
the muscles.
Yes, and we make a very gentle force, very gentle. So your body can say thank you and take that force and turn it into what's called an innate force to adjust that bone back to innate normal. How do we know that vertebral subluxation has been adjusted? Then we check it again. Have the working muscles been reduced? Great. We know something powerful has happened.
Is there a machine that does it, or are you just feeling it?
No, there is not a machine. We use our hands to feel it. And I'm not saying there
Hence
isn't.
Chiropractic.
There we go, brother. There we go. There are instruments. And what's interesting is this. In 1923, BJ had an engineer working for him at the school. His name was Dawson Evans. And Dawson Evans came up with the neuroscope. And the neuroscope, the neurocolometer, what it was called back then, took two uneven metals and wrapped them around a magnet. So a needle deflected when you ran these two thermocouples along the sides of the spine. When it hit hot areas, the needle would deflect. And that needle deflecting is the areas that they would correlate with the vertebral subluxation. Years later, this premise is still used because it's a brilliant premise. And we'll do research projects to where the correlation of where one's called a neuroscope now, or the neurocolometer, where you would have a break in that needle with advanced muscle palpation, was also the level that there would be a vertebral subluxation present. And these are in like double-blind studies. The correlation was in a ridiculously high number. This was done at Sherman College, probably back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And though correlation isn't causation, it makes for a powerful argument.
So who eventually legitimized chiropractic?
Probably the public. Because some way, somehow, when you're working with principles, and the basic science of chiropractic, starting with the a priori statement, is all principles. That we start with the universe and then we work our way down to the innate law of living things, and that the adjustment of a vertebral subluxation, allowing for a fuller expression of innate impulses, is always a good thing. It was the fact that the public is like, yes, this is something we want. This is something we need. Now, you could argue that B.J. Palmer was instrumental in a lot of ways, and he was. He was taking care of President Truman during his lifetime. But chiropractic principles don't change, Brad. Our understanding of principles is what changed. Therefore, chiropractic, the philosophy, which is our understanding and questioning why, is written in pencil because we're always learning more.
So you would think, like, right now, if there's a doctor that, finds a cure to cancer or does anything like what's seemingly good for humanity.
Yes, sir.
The medical boards shut his ass down, seemingly. So you would think chiropractic never would have been able to survive because of the same thing. Like, in other words,
interesting.
You guys are not medical doctors.
Correct.
So you would think the medical doctors would be like, hey, just like they tried to, what's his name? BJ.
They sure did. They sure did try.
So it's just curious that the profession survived, because like normally you'd have been shut down, shelved.
100%.
Everybody would have got arrested.
Yes.
Like right now, if there's doctors that figure out ways to cure cancer, they'll get arrested if they say that and advertise that. But yet there's proof. There's all these patients that are better.
Yes.
And like you don't get to those people because those people end up disappeared. I'm just wondering, how did chiropractic evade the big bad medical world?
Well, I'll say this. I'll give you my opinion. Can we make that disclaimer? I'm a student of chiropractic, Brad. I've only been in practice for 32 years. I graduated from Palmer in 1993. I am so thankful every day that I get to wake up and be a chiropractor. My profession takes me all around the world, speaking and teaching, and it's even took me here to meet you, one of my mentors, whether you know it or not, you see, because I've been studying you for years now, So going back to the history, when Reggie Gold graduated and he was in practice, he came up with what is called the non-therapeutic model of chiropractic, that everybody lives better when vertebral subluxations are adjusted. During the 20s and 30s, BJ, go ahead.
Well, I want laymen, because I hear what you're saying, and I know there's a bunch of chiropractors that listen that they know what you're saying.
Yes.
But the regular Joe is probably going, when you say live better, like what? Am I going to feel better, sit up straighter? My skin going to glow? Am I going to have better blood flow? Like, what do you mean by live better?
Well, and that's a great question. We're looking at it logically because we have to have logic and reason involved. And I think
two of my favorite things.
Perfect. If we agree that life flows over the nerve system, and by that, this innate law flowing over the nerve system, can we agree to that? Would you say that most likely that organ and that nerve system is used to circulate these impulses from the brain to the body back to the brain, some kind of impulses?
Yes, like a transmission line.
100%. And can we agree that a bone can possibly misalign in the spine, and if it's out of place and there's no empty spaces in the human body, that could possibly put pressure on that nerve tissue?
Well, sure.
Okay.
But the question is how do we know that the pressure is going to suppress the signal?
Logically, if we change the structure of something, we change the function.
Yeah, but when you have energy and it flows through a straight line, just
Yes.
because you curve it doesn't mean it won't flow.
Yes, but now that's you're talking an inanimate object. You're not talking a living thing. If I took something such as even a tire in your car, and we changed the shape of that tire to be outside of the shape it was intelligently intended to be, is that going to be good or bad for that tire and that car?
Bad.
Exactly. So we use that same logic to say if a bone has misaligned and is somehow producing pressure on nerve tissue in any capacity, it changes the structure. No different.
Sure.
Yes. And if it changes the structure, it is no longer capable of functioning the way that it was intended to function.
Well, that's the part that I can't wrap my head around, because like this bottle, for example.
Yes, sir.
It's meant to look like it looks.
Correct.
So when I take a drink of water, right?
Yes.
It pours out. The bone adds pressure.
Correct.
It still pours out.
It still pours out of that bottle that's not a living structure. That bottle.
I know, but it still pours out. So I'm wondering, like, I get what you're saying, and I can totally see what you're saying, especially with the tire analogy. But what I'm saying is we're just such magnificent creations.
Yes.
That just because a bone's pressing on something it wasn't supposed to press on, unless it's really pressing, but like just a little out of alignment, maybe the energy or the innate law just flows right past it anyway, because like no big deal, doesn't affect it at all, because the energy, the shit we can't see and touch, the metaphysical, is just, it's energy. It's flowing. It's going to flow whether you give it this much room or this much room. It's going to flow whether it's perfectly straight or a little bit curved. And by that is intelligent design. Because why would it be intelligent design if one little tiny crank of the back stops something from happening? And then why would it be designed to allow a crank in the what do you call it? Flesh or what would you call it?
The vertebral subluxation.
Yeah, but it presses on
presses on the spinal cord and brain spinal cord, nerve tissue.
Like, wouldn't you feel it?
Not necessarily. And now this is such a deep question, Brad, and we can go even outside of chiropractic to talk about this as well. Can you feel your liver right now, or your kidneys, or your spleen, or your gallbladder?
I am not aware.
Exactly. You're not aware of the vast majority, and neither am I.
But maybe I can. Maybe
Explain.
Not feeling it is feeling it.
Okay, which is a paradox.
Because if it starts to die, you can feel it.
Okay, but now we're talking about something. At what point do you feel it? We don't know.
Well,
At what point?
Just like urine flow. You know,
Yes.
A 20-year-old kid pisses like a racehorse.
Yes.
An 80-year-old man doesn't have the same flow. Why? Well, the prostate gets bigger. It starts to press in, and you can feel the difference.
Yes, because there are sensory nerves in those areas. Now, there's a few things going on. The reality is, if you could feel these things, you wouldn't have to go and get scanned for any cancer treatments, because you could feel it. Oh, I got cancer in my testicles. I got cancer in my liver, but you can't. And by the time you do, it's probably not looking very good. So the reality is we just don't feel the vast majority of our body functions.
Has there ever been a time where chiropractic adjustments cured cancer?
Nothing's a cure. Now, by people having an adjustment and a fuller expression of life, have things gone away? Absolutely. Absolutely. We simply can't predict that. Yeah. And I've had that in my office. I've had, I can remember there was a time many years ago, there was this beautiful young child coming to my office, and foster parents brought her and she had been in an abusive situation, and parts of her brain were protruding through her skull, and she was going to have surgery. So she came in to see me, and once again, family, I'm checking for vertebral subluxations. As she's coming in and her body's functioning better, all that went away. Could I predict it? Absolutely not. Could you say that it could have been something else contributing and that wasn't the adjustment? Absolutely, because I'm not saying it was or it wasn't. I'm saying that's wonderful. Keep coming in.
What a coincidence.
Absolutely, and maybe it was, Brad. But what I am saying is that they were living better when vertebral subluxations are adjusted. And this actually has a very sad ending. I remember when the mom came in and she was in tears. She's like, "What did you do to my daughter?" I'm like, "Ma'am, I did exactly what we said we were going to do. We analyzed her spine and help her body adjust vertebral subluxations." And she was crying. I was like, "What is it? What's wrong?" Because I was nervous. Who wouldn't be nervous? She said, "We went for the pre-op examination. And all the doctors accused me of bringing in a different child, that all of her labs and all of the different studies were completely normal. And now they want to know what happened." I'm like, "Look, I love that happened. I can't predict it. I'm not even saying it was chiropractic that did it. I'm saying keep this habit up, and I'm so thankful." And they never came back.
So if I'm listening to this show, you got me convinced to go get regular weekly
100%.
subluxation adjustments.
Yes.
But you still have me a little bit in the dark as to what will happen.
Well, and your body will be stronger. Your body will be stronger. You live closer to your full potential. How that manifests is impossible to predict. And going back to what you were saying earlier, there was a research project. The name escapes me, but what they found, going back to what you were saying earlier, when they did research on how much pressure to nerve tissue alters the function of what neuroplastic flow, the fluid inside the nerve. How much pressure to that nerve has to happen for that flow to be altered? And it was less than the weight of a dime. Wow. Yes. Now, Brett, correlation is not causation. It just makes a heck of an argument. So where I'm coming from is what I'm saying is this. Are there points here that is still a theory? And because we work with the metaphysical component we can never prove? Yes. We don't understand human potential. This is why athletes continuously get better and better and better. And yes, I'm a Patriot fan. Tom Brady, wherever you're at, thank you for giving my mother 6 Super Bowls. Okay. She didn't make it to the last Super Bowl. She passed away, but we watched that last game that they played before they went to Atlanta. So thank you for that. Athletes just keep getting better and better all the time. And when you look at athletes like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, my favorite athlete in the world, Michael Jordan. First person that he thanked in his retirement, his chiropractor. Tiger Woods takes his chiropractor with him because they understand this. By having chiropractic around, I perform closer to my full potential. That's simple. For me, I don't want it to be for elite athletes only. I want every human being to have the opportunity to live better. I cannot predict which physiological function will improve. Brett, this body is a very complicated thing. I always hear arbitrary percentages. Well, we know less than 4% of how this body actually functions. I don't even know how they come up with 4%. We don't know. We don't know how thoughts are conveyed in our mind. We don't know why you need sleep. I will go so far as to say this. We don't know how electricity works, but we know enough to be able to harness it to light up this amazing studio and to have all these amazing things. We do not have to know everything about the body to have habits that allow our body to function better and stronger. Chiropractic being one of them. Not the only one. Still got to eat good, exercise, positive mental attitude, rest, have mentors, study, take care of yourself. Hang out with the real Bradley. You want to know what real stands for in real Bradley?
Yes.
Relationships, energy, affluence, and leadership.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. I study you, brother. And
yes, it does.
Very, very powerful.
You know why it stands for that?
Tell me why.
Well, because number one, relationships above all else.
Yes, sir.
The relationship you have with your creator, the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with others. And people go through life trying to get the money and trying to get the fame and trying to get all this material things.
Yes,
and they don't realize that all of those things come from relationships, period.
100%.
I'm going to give myself a bomb.
Yes. That's the first time it went off the whole interview.
Well, because I'm trying, I probably could have dropped a few, but now you reminded me. Because people need to understand that. Like, there's people that are, all they want is money, 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 money. And they don't realize that relationships is where money comes from.
100%.
So like, if you want more money, get more relationships. And then they're like, well, people don't like me, or I feel, awkward coming up to people. Well, that's because you don't have a relationship with yourself.
100%.
Or you don't have a relationship with your creator. So like, it's all about relationships. That's why R is first.
Yes.
Then E, energy. Energy.
Yes.
What did you say? Did you say energy?
I said energy.
Okay, good, because you said it fast, but it's energy.
Because I was excited. I talk fast.
Even if you didn't, it is energy. And the reason is that energy is your health, your mind,
Yes.
your mindset, the whole bit. And because with the right energy, it's easier to build and attract and nurture relationships, which are the most important. So energy, because again, I mean, you ever hang around somebody that's negative and they just got a bad energy, man. It's
Not
like
anymore.
yeah, well, good. That's smart. But my point is most people don't realize how important your energy, your frequency. We're beings of light. We're frequencies, and again, that's metaphysical stuff. But quantum physics says we're all just energy.
You can't get away from it. There's no question that there is order, and you cannot have order without an organizing principle, and ultimately without some element of intelligence. We can't get away from that, Brad.
Yeah.
And within chiropractic, we're constantly asking why. And by the way, I love the relationship thing 100%. So we stop before it gets into religion. You know what Jesus' name is, his real name?
Yes.
Yahshua.
That's correct.
Yes. I've heard you mention that quite a few times, and the story behind that is unbelievable.
Well, all anyone has to do is look.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so energy is important, obviously, and 100%. I think when people have the wrong energy, the wrong frequency, their life tends to reflect it. So it's like, hey, you want better relationships, especially with yourself, get the right energy, mindset, diet, you sleep, adjusted,
Yes.
Your vertebral subluxations
Preach it, brother.
Adjusted.
Yes.
But you have to have the right energy just because you want to feel good. Okay. And then the affluence is obvious. You want to be able to attract. Affluence is attraction of wealth, prosperity, good vibrations, good people. You want that. And then L is for leadership, because again, you're not going anywhere by yourself. And if you loop it back to relationships, it's all about relationships. So you better have some leadership skills. Lead yourself first, because nobody wants to follow someone who, is false, fake.
100%. Yes, 100%.
So leadership is important. So when you put those together, you have real. And to be real, you need to understand relationships, energy, affluence, and leadership is the foundational building blocks of those. Just like, the spinal cord and the brain, the medulla oblongata, the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the freaking amygdala, all of it together. That's like, if you took out the life force, you'd see a brain and a spine.
Yes.
The rest is just the machine that it runs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
yes.
And what I think, because I do sometimes go spiritual, the brain and the spinal cord that runs the body, that's not you. I think, like, for example, let's say you play a video game.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's the remote control that you pick up and you do this and you move the character. So the remote control is what moves the character. When in reality, the remote control is used by me to move that character. Well, if the remote control is your brain, who is you in that analogy? That's the mind and the soul and the spirit. And to me, that you can't weigh, you can't measure. It could be small, it could be big, who knows? But at the end of the day, how much does one weigh? Where is it? Point to it, touch it. You can't. So then where is it? Because we all agree we have one. So if we all have a mind, where is it? And how big is it? And how much does it weigh? What's its temperature? Nobody knows. No medical doctor can say, this is where it is. Here, I'll take it out. There's your mind. So where is it? Well, that's metaphysical. It's not physical.
Correct.
Well, and that tells you that then has to be another realm or something, because where's your mind? Where's your mind? So anyway, that's why it's real. And not only that, authenticity is, I think, the most attractive vibrational frequency there is. So, it allows you to be real, authentic. And it's just something that I preach. So yeah, you've been listening a while, because a lot of people, they just think it's real because, he's the real Brad Lee, real. But it's not just real. It's exactly what you said it was.
It's 100%. And all of these metaphysical concepts are present. In chiropractic, we deal exclusively with the innate law and the universal principle of organization. The problem B.J. Palmer had, he made it spiritual, because he tried to make the innate law your soul and universal principle God. And then chiropractic was becoming a spiritual religion. And it's not the case, because a plant has an innate law within it. A tree has an innate law. A dog.
Well, there's several innate laws, no?
No, it's all the same. It's a principle of organization of living tissue and matter. And it's just, it varies in its complexity, humans being the most complex, you see. And there are other things present. Like when you talk about the human, these entities are not chiropractic, the soul, intuition, certain parts of the mind, that voice inside of you. These are very present things that are outside the realm and scope of chiropractic, but still there, you see.
Still there. Like I always tell people, think of the word, money. Like, just don't say it, just think it, and say it 3 times in your head. Can you hear it? And people are like, yeah.
Of course.
But yet there's no sound. So how are you hearing it?
100%. And just because we don't understand it takes nothing away from it being there. And we can have different theories, and there's many parts of what we're talking about in chiropractic that is a theory. And when we do research, we find there's so much correlation. There's correlation in research we're doing today that's massively congruent with what chiropractors were doing in the 1920s. When you say to me, well, how do you know if that muscle working is trying to adjust a vertebral subluxation? When we do research, we find that in between the vertebral joints, where the bones articulate, is the most dense concentration of proprioceptive fibers. And proprioceptive fibers in the body are what indicates where the position of these bones are in space. And there is a reflex arc that scientists have discovered. Please don't ask me how. I love research. I don't do research. I just read it. That there are reflex arcs that go from the zygapophyseal joints straight up to parts of the brain, whether it's the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and right back down as a reflex arc to the surrounding musculature that enacts these tiny muscle fibers to work to try to adjust that bone back to where it belongs. This is the theory of chiropractic. So you could say to me, well, how do you know? It's part of a theory. And granted, the theory that I have in the science that I study, the chiropractic basic science, and now I have 32 years, but I go 7 days a week. I practice 3 times the amount of the average chiropractor. So I really have almost 100 years of applied science, to the point to where it is such a natural process of analyzing a spine that the most important thing I need to do is see people on a regular basis. One, to earn their trust subconsciously, because your body is always going to be apprehensive when you see somebody new. And second, develop a familiarity with their spine. So over time, it becomes unbelievably easy to find these working muscles. And no process, There is no process that doesn't take time. Every process takes time.
And you have 3 practices in Mississippi. How'd a Boston kid end up in Mississippi with 3 successful chiropractic offices?
Well, I could say that it's the FBI relocation program, being Italian from Boston. But, I'm very idealistic, Brad. And one of the things that I love that I get to do on your platform of Lightspeed is teach chiropractors how to practice chiropractic, be massively successful. And I want us to talk about success, what it is, and stay congruent with the values and principles of themselves and chiropractic, which goes back to that powerful word you just said, authenticity.
Is there a stark contrast between chiropractic principles and medical principles?
They're night and day. They're totally different. One of the things that happened in the 20s and 30s when B.J. Palmer was actually going and defending chiropractors against medical persecution, his argument was chiropractic is separate and distinct. It is very distinct from medicine. I don't know what medical philosophy is, because a lot of times people in the profession are not real, and there are great people in the profession. I take care of different medical doctors and nurses and physical therapists, wonderful people. I see them and they've helped me. And when you ask too deep, there's just a point, well, we don't know. We don't ever think about it. They don't think about it. But yes, chiropractic is a separate and distinct field. And that's how BJ was defending these chiropractors, that were doing something separate and distinct. And the chiropractic has a philosophy, a why, that we constantly are asking why. So our understanding of the chiropractic basic science, which are these 33 principles that a genius in 33 principles. I know, isn't that crazy? R.W. Stevenson came up with, who wrote the chiropractic textbook was published in 1927. He wasn't quite there to the way we are now, but you talk about a book ahead of its time, Brad, that had these principles. Chiropractic, why I love it so much, it's the only thing I've ever studied that has a science, a philosophy, and an art to it. And that's what makes it so beautiful.
Well, I did a little research at one point, because I used to think when someone says they're a doctor, I always thought medical. And then, I learned what a chiropractor is. And I'm like, oh, so you're not a real doctor. And then I was told, blah, 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 of course. So I did a little research and I realized the chiropractic field learns as much as the medical field. The only thing you guys don't study is the medicine, like prescribing. So like if you really take a doctor and a chiropractor and you look at what they learned, there's a lot of similarities. It's just the medical doctor continues because they have to learn how to prescribe drugs and medicine. And I was explaining this. I'm more asking than telling. Sure. But it seemed to be a chiropractor is a real doctor, just without the studies of prescription, the medicine part. And it's like, well, no wonder. Why would they need to do that? They don't prescribe medicine. They don't believe in the medicine part. And dude, I lean towards that more than medicine. Like I don't take aspirin for a headache. I just let it go away. And thank God I don't really get them, because I probably would if I got them a lot. But medicine to me, I understand there's some good and everything, but I also understand, listen, for profit, I will give you a pill that may fix your temporary problem and hopefully cause you to come back and need more of my shit down the road. So I try to stay away from medicine as much as possible. Now again, I break my leg, dude. Give me a shot. Give me a damn pill. I'm all for pain relievers and all that, and I don't look down on people, but I try to not take medicine. So, is there any truth to what I said? Do chiropractors learn pretty much the same as a doctor, except for the prescription part, or is there medical doctors do not learn what chiropractors know?
Are you ready to get controversial?
Yes.
Okay. Chiropractic has two different models. In the therapeutic model, you're going to have a lot of animosity toward medicine because it's an alternative to medicine. And in order to be an alternative, you have to have one thing in common, and that is the same objective. So what's happened because of that, and also in 1980, there was this big lawsuit called the Wilkes case. And in the Wilkes case, Dr. Wilkes and his team of attorneys sued, I believe it was the AMA, and they won, where medical doctors were considered found guilty of, arresting chiropractors, denying chiropractic students guaranteed student loans, and inclusion into medical insurance, third party pay. And most of the profession looked at that as a victory. Now, I'm going to be controversial here. I look at that as the beginning of the end and the downfall of chiropractic. Up until then, you had chiropractic offices, some of them 200, 300, 400 visits a day, charging an affordable fee system. What happened when guaranteed student loans paid for tuition? Coincidentally, sarcasm, tuition went up. And chiropractic was never designed to be under medical insurance because, like BJ was trying to do, separate and distinct. BJ in his book said, I have never adjusted a spine that didn't need, or the longest his adjustment ever lasted was 27 and a half days, is what BJ Palmer said. So there was evidence that you needed to come in on a regular basis. So now, since 1980, the volume of chiropractic offices has gone down. Nobody really knows what chiropractic is. And chiropractic is practiced in general as an alternative to medicine. So there is animosity because you're trying to do the same thing. I would call that model physical medicine, even if you're exclusively adjusting vertebral subluxations for a better expression of really, as a treatment, it's still physical medicine.
Yeah, but there may be overlap, but it's not the same thing. Like if I broke my arm, I'm not going to a chiropractor.
I totally understand, but here's the problem that happens.
If I have back pain, I would rather go to a chiropractor to see if that worked so I don't have to go get the medicine. But at the end of the day, I don't see how they're the same thing.
But there's still a treatment for a symptom. They're still competing. And therefore now what you're going to have, and there's so many different layers to this, Brad, because what happens is this. Because we're constantly asking why and studying why. If you're an alternative to medicine, you have the same objective. So you're going to fight with each other. And now what's happened is this. The vast majority of chiropractic schools have gotten away from teaching chiropractic. Even what I'm saying right now can be considered radical at many chiropractic schools. If a chiropractic school is not teaching vertebral subluxations, I don't understand how that even qualifies to be under the name chiropractic, but it does.
So if I come to your office and I want something these therapeutic chiropractors do, you're like, nope. No. All we're going to do here today is adjust and get your vertebra subluxation handled.
I wouldn't say it like that because, as you know, the importance of words, I never say only or just because they're minimizers when it comes to what I do. I say, look, we exclusively focus on the adjustment of vertebral subluxations for a better expression of life.
How long of a visit is that?
Well, it depends. If you're coming in, I schedule a consultation. I do my consultations free for a couple different reasons. One, I want to educate you and show you how I can help you live better because I got really a great thing. And second, I want to make sure you're a good fit for me. I'm 55 years old, Brad. I'm a little happy Italian guy. I wake up every day, squirrels land on my shoulder. Birds land on my shoulder and sing sweet tunes. People who come in to see me are unbelievably enthusiastically excited because they know their lives are better through the adjustment of vertebral subluxations.
How? See, again, I always put myself as a listener. If I'm listening to this, dude, you got me damn close to just finding me a local chiropractor and just giving it a try. So I had two questions. Number one, what if they don't believe like you and I want to try what you're talking about? What do you do? Just find another one? Are they all over?
100%, yes.
Okay. So then number two, what's going to happen? Like right now, I don't have pain.
Right.
I don't feel bad. So if I go in there.
Best time to go to a chiropractor.
I know, but if I go into the chiropractor and I'm getting the adjustments, because everyone needs them. Right. Whether you feel good or bad, you need them.
100%.
So if I go in and do them for 3 months and I still feel the same, eventually I'm going to be like, what am I doing here?
Every time you come in, we go over the logic because, like you said, there is a metaphysical component that
but I won't feel better, sit straighter.
Maybe you will. Maybe you will.
How much time should I give it before I say it ain't doing shit?
Okay. For me, I don't know, twice a week for the rest of your life. But going back to what you're saying, because of how I practice in the non-therapeutic model, it complements everything on the planet. Medical doctors love me. I've never had a medical doctor say, well, that's literally common sense. Unfortunately, in research, It's not the vertebral subluxation, because chiropractors do have an identity crisis. They don't understand the power that they hold in the adjustment of vertebral subluxations. They want to be like the medical doctor. Brad, in Arizona, not far from here, a few years ago, the state almost passed chiropractors being able to prescribe medication. In Montana, this year, it lost by 1 vote. When you have an objective of getting sick people well and alleviating these things, that is only a natural progression. And that's what's going to happen to the therapeutic model of chiropractic. It's inevitable when that's your objective. But if your objective is the adjustment of vertebral subluxations that I can logically demonstrate your body will function better, I can logically demonstrate that. If I can't predict how, if I were to say to you, okay, Brad, you know what? I eat broccoli. I eat broccoli because it just makes good sense. With all of the nutrients they found in there, it's grown in the earth, but I can't trace it to one specific part of my body. I can't say that it's going to go here and cure this or go and make that function better. But would you eat more broccoli based on the logic of there is an airtight logical case that eating broccoli could possibly be really good for making your body stronger? Would you consider it?
No.
Then we would part as friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't, only because I hate broccoli.
Okay.
And I would have to be able to see it, feel it. Like, I'm not just going to believe it. It might be like I'm either stronger or I'm not stronger. So I might try it for 6 months, but after 6 months, because I hate it, if I liked it, sure. But if I hated it, well, now you're telling me to go do something. For what reason? Well, it might be making you feel better. Well, how will I know? Well, you won't. But it might. It's like, now it sounds like you're trying to get me in your office 2 times a week.
Well, I'm not saying it might. You will be stronger. We just can't predict how. There's no might. When a vertebral subluxation is adjusted, when a vertebrae that is subluxated is restored to its innate normal position, life is more fully expressed, and that's what makes this so powerful.
That's what makes me want to go try it. But what is fully expressed?
We don't know, Brad.
Am I going to smile? Do I feel lighter? Do I have a better attitude?
The answer is,
do I get erections longer?
Maybe.
Like what? Maybe. What? There has to be something that people have reported.
Well, Brad, the list is longer than my arm of what people reported. I mean, you could go on the internet and you could go for days of what people reported. What I'm saying is I can't predict that. So we have to go with that logical case of, do we agree that there is a innate principle that's maintaining everything in organization in your body? I'm going to go this far, that there is no chaos in the universe. Everything in the universe happens through some sort of logical order. You could say, well, what about an explosion? How is that order? Because there had to be an exothermic reaction that followed a particular sequence that blew these atoms and molecules in a specific direction based on that force. And that's all massive order. Just because we can't understand it takes nothing away from it. Maybe as we learn more about the body, one of the guys that I think you interviewed that I love, the absolute genius, is Gary Brecker. We're finding when the genome was discovered in 2010, yes, Brad, 2010, the genome, it broke genetics wide open. It was in the 50s that the actual genetic coding was discovered. We have to understand that we know very little on this complicated structure. So the more theories that we have that are backed by correlation of logic and reasoning and research, the better argument we have. If you simply say, I don't believe in it, okay, I'm not going to argue that because I don't work off belief. I'm not a belief guy. I'm a science guy. I've got to see the logic. If you can make a logical case, Franco Columbu, when I was 13 years old growing up in Boston, he wrote a book, Franco Columbu's Complete Book of Bodybuilding. He's Italian. He was Mr. Olympia. He was an Olympic weightlifter, a boxer, and he happened to be a chiropractor. That's how I got into chiropractic. And as I'm reading his book at 13, he made a comment that said, bones in your spine misalign and produce nerve interference, and that restricts the flow of life, and I help your body adjust that. I'm 13 years old. I'm like, I'd go every week to something like that. I was genetically made to see something logical and say, I want that. He also said, eat broccoli and you could be strong like me. And it worked pretty good for me. And ever since then, I eat a pound of broccoli every single day, and I've competed in countless sports from bodybuilding, running, Olympic weightlifting, mixed martial arts. I incorporate that too. He just happened to specifically say broccoli in that particular paragraph, and it stuck with me forever. So if I make a logical case the vast majority of people are going to say, yeah, sign me up. Does everybody sign up? No, because there may be those who say, well, I don't believe it. I'm like, okay, if you change your mind, we can go in. I mean, I can show you research and all these things. The premise doesn't change.
Yeah, but a lot more people would sign up if you said, for example, you know how sometimes, you know, you get home and you're a little bit worn out. They go, yeah, for sure. Well, if you had, that could be the subluxation. So if you got adjusted twice a week for a month and you came back and you don't feel that way anymore, there's the evidence you'd be looking for. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll try it. I'll see. Cause right now you're going to get a lot of people hunting for a chiropractor.
Yes,
so
sir.
I have two questions. One, what's your goal? Because like right now, if you just caused the bomb squad, let's pretend everybody in it said, I'm going to see a chiropractor.
Love it.
They're not going to you unless they're in Mississippi. So like, why you might be the guy that, you know, single-handedly sparked the chiropractic industry.
Yes, sir. And that's what I hope happens.
All these chiropractors are going to have to thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And join the Institute. You know, we talk about purpose and mission. Purpose comes from our past. I think this was Simon Sinek in his book, The Long Game. Purpose comes from our past. Mission comes from our future. In chiropractic, we have defined chiropractic in my model based on logic, understanding, inductive and deductive reasoning. That chiropractic is the analysis and the facilitation of the adjustment of vertebral subluxations because they in and of themselves are detrimental to the expression of innate impulses. Chiropractic is all education toward this objective, and chiropractic is nothing else. There is my scope of practice so I can safely provide this exclusive service. And I don't want to see everybody. I don't, Brad. I have no desire to see everybody. You know what I want to do? I want to see 350 people sign up on my program and come into my office 2 to 3 times a week who are so fanatically crazy about me and what I do as a chiropractor. The idea of not having this in their life is not even possible.
It's not even expensive either.
It's not. I charge $100 a month, come in twice a week for the next 30 years. And that's what I want. So I don't want to see everybody. My mission is 8.2 billion people seeing their chiropractor every week. Do I think, now this is a belief, do I believe there will be a massive conscious shift in humanity when folks are having their spine checked every week around the world? Absolutely. That's my mission. That's what's in it for me.
Can everyone get it adjusted?
Sir?
Is there like, you ever get somebody, it's like, oh, it won't stop being out of adjustment?
I don't ever concern myself with holding. That's something chiropractors would call holding. How long does it hold? Brett, about twice a week, and I love to push my body. So I've got blown discs, tore muscles. The medical profession has helped me tremendously. I don't compete with them. I'm separate and distinct. I'm not competing with everybody. You can't go and do something else in lieu of chiropractic. The only alternative to chiropractic is not seeing a chiropractor. So if I'm going to go see my chiropractor and then maybe I do some Olympic weightlifting. There was a time I used to compete in Olympic weightlifting and jiu-jitsu at the same time. And when I was getting ready one time, I blew a disc and I lost total function of this right hand. Most people who had any element of sanity would say, oh, maybe I need to back off. No, I still went to the jiu-jitsu tournament and competed and, won my class with one hand. That's how my mind worked. So if I'm going to go and get punched in the head when I go and I train boxing or push myself weightlifting in regards to perform at my best, I don't think it's reasonable to think that these bones are going to stay in proper alignment. I don't think that's a reasonable thing. So I would rather go to my chiropractor and get checked and know, hey, when you get checked by a chiropractor, that does not mean that they're going to have to perform an adjustment. That just means, okay, could you get checked and there be no vertebral subluxations? Yeah, that could happen, but that's like going to a dentist every week and saying, oh, there's no plaque on my teeth today. Plaque's going to happen on your teeth, regardless if you go to a dentist or not. Vertebral subluxations are happening whether you go to a chiropractor or not. And going back to what you said earlier, unfortunately, so much chiropractic education has been medicalized. We, as a profession, need to get back to our identity of what is our purpose and mission as a chiropractic profession and focus on that. I'm not a big advocate of formal education because there's too much fluff to it. And there's not enough effort into helping people think. So we need to cut back on the amount of years of education and focus exclusively on what the desired outcome should be.
Now, you said you graduated in 93 and you started your practice in 96.
Correct.
What were you doing for those 3 years?
I was an associate. So going back to how I ended up in Mississippi, I'm actually licensed in Massachusetts and South Carolina. I come with a lot of energy and passion for what I do. I love what I do. This is my passion work. So those jobs that I was promised didn't really pan out. So when I was finishing up my board in South Carolina, I called a fraternity brother guy who practiced in Tupelo, Mississippi. And this is in 1993. And he's like, yeah, I might have a space for you. So this is before GPS. I broke out a map, found Tupelo, Mississippi from South Carolina, thought, I'll hang here for a couple months. And here I am 32 years later in Mississippi and talking to you. And Mississippi is one of the best kept secrets of our country, by the way. It's absolutely an amazing state.
With 3 thriving practices.
Correct.
And the NTSC Institute.
Correct.
Which, folks, you can find at NTSCinstitute.com. So if you're in the chiropractic industry and you want to learn more about what he's talking about, I would, just because it sounds like you're going to get people coming in more often, for sure.
Absolutely.
And then, the magic and the passion that you have behind it is obvious from evidence. You must have witnessed a lot of different things. What's the most crazy thing you've witnessed from someone that came in where they bent, hobbling, and now they're erect? And how do you fix bad posture? How do you, there's people that have bad backs,
yes,
and I know chiropractors that fix a lot of that stuff. I don't know if they're your kind or the other kind, but I know that chiropractors, dude, there's a lot of people that give them high praises.
Yes, sir. When you work with the miracle of life, a lot of things can go away. You just can't predict them. So what I would say is this, and this is one of the hard things about selling this. This is why I teach chiropractors how to sell this, because how do you sell to a news network, the plane took off and landed safely? You don't. But you know what? I sure am thankful that mine did, getting out here, and want the same going back. That's what I do. Pleasantly uneventful. I don't want it to be something you have to mentally prepare to do to come to my office. You come to my office, it's pleasantly uneventful. You might sit down in the waiting room for a minute. You come back, you get checked. You've been coming in, say, for 2 years. You spend a minute and a half with me. We check your spine. See you in a few days,
You do
brother.
house calls?
I have. They're not always as effective, but I do house calls, yes, because I have some people, maybe they've been coming to see me for a long time and life happens and they don't get out of the house much.
Well, it's not the house much. It's I got shit to do. I don't have freaking a free schedule where I'm going to drive clear to the chiropractor to walk in and for 1 minute and then walk out. Right. Even though I would if I had back pain, I would if it turned me into a superhuman. But when it's not really going to do anything that I can feel, it wouldn't motivate me to do that. However, if you said, dude, there's a guy here, he'll swing by your house every Friday at 3:00. I'll throw him a couple $100 a month and test it for 90 days. And miraculously, if I feel better, think better, breathe better, look better, anything better, I'd do it for life. Just like you're saying. Now, if after 6 months, I'm like, I don't feel any damn different, I might stop. Why? Well, because I'm a normal person, and a normal person wouldn't just do it just because. Now, if the doctor's cool like you and we have conversation, we build a relationship, why not? But usually it's easier to get someone to do something when they have what's called pain.
Crisis.
Yeah.
And chiropractic's not a crisis service. So here's what would happen.
Yeah,
because
I would hate to go to a chiropractor if I was in pain.
My office is not a crisis office.
Have you ever heard of someone that's cracked a neck and now they're paralyzed?
I've heard of that. Yes, I've heard of someone doing that and dying.
Yeah, but can you imagine going to a chiropractor after listening to this, and the chiropractor goes snap, and all of a sudden they're paralyzed?
I would really hope that would never happen. That chiropractor better know what they're doing.
Is it strong manipulation to do your vertebral subluxation correction? Is it crack, or is it am I going or is it just light and subtle?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, keep in mind, as great as I think I am as a chiropractor, I can't adjust myself. You are not objective. And so when people are doing that, you're just applying a force to the bones and soft tissue of your spine, spinal cord, arteries. Not a good idea at all to leave that to random chaos or chance. Very, very bad. Second, the intent of the adjustment. The chiropractor does not make the adjustment. You're trying to be a part of the adjustment. The body makes the adjustment. The innate law makes the adjustment. You want that force that you produce to be so gentle and so specific that the innate law says, thank you, and adjust that bone back very gently where it belongs. A lot of people, when they first come to see me, will be a little bit nervous. And here's one of the biggest compliments I get when we're done the first time. They say, that's it? Yes. So now it's like, okay, this is gentle, this is fun, this is enjoyable, this is positive, and this is something that I'm doing that's going to make my body stronger. Now, if people say, well, I just want to come in and see how I'm going to feel, I'm not your guy. I can give you a logical case. I can show you anatomically. I have all these, these drawings of the brain and spinal cord. And it's amazing, when they've dissected the brain, spinal cord, and all the nerves, and they just have that organ, it's the shape of the body, and it's so intricate and so amazing, like you were saying earlier. So if somebody's saying, look, I want to see how I'm going to feel, that is not my objective or my intent of any outcome, because I can't predict that. But what I can say logically, that if a bone can misalign, and that misalignment, due to the fact there's no empty spaces, can somehow alter nerve tissue in any way, that will interfere with the function of that nerve tissue, which is obviously a bad thing. Therefore, it can be adjusted back to its normal position, and having a fuller expression of life is a powerful thing. Logically, even if we can't predict which physiological function, if I can't sell you on that, I'm not your guy.
Well, how do I know that it's back in its right spot?
You have to trust me. And this is where reputation comes in. How do you know that for your surgeon? How do you know that for your physical therapist? How do you know that for your massage therapist? A lot of people have woken up
and realized they didn't know what to do either.
Unfortunately, that does happen.
Especially in plastic surgery. You ever see these botched face jobs? Can you imagine going in to get a freaking nose job and you wake up and it's just botched?
My heart goes out. My heart goes out. So in chiropractic, when you give that example that you gave earlier, it's something that never happens. Now, granted, for me, for the chiropractors that I associate with, and I want to thank all chiropractors, this is sacred. Your trust is sacred. Our relationship is sacred. So when you come to see me, you see very little of everything that I've done in regards to what I studied that day to be a better chiropractor, the videos that I watched, the books that I've read. Now I'm at the point that my friends and I, we write books and we go back and forth, critiquing each other, criticizing each other, because, and as Rollo Tomasi has said, the only way you can test an idea is through the crucible of debate and criticism. And I open myself up to all of that. From chiropractors, yes, I will love to debate any chiropractor on these topics. I'd love to debate anybody.
Maybe I'll have you back and we'll ask for comments and find some chiros that want to debate what you're saying.
I would love that. And the goal is truth. We have a topic. The goal is truth, because here's the thing. When we're talking about success, and I wanted to run my definition by you of success. And I love I love what REAL stands for, and that was the deepest you've ever gone. So thank you for doing that, and doing that while I'm on your podcast. How amazing. What if we looked at success as 1, knowing your purpose, 2, developing your skill set, 3, constantly investing in yourself to be the best version of you, of who you can be, living to your fullest potential. Of course, chiropractic being one of those things. Because you talked about health. Would you say health is only how you feel? What if you feel great, which happens all the time, and these athletes drop dead of a heart attack? You see what I'm saying? How we feel doesn't correlate with how well our body's performing. But going back to our definition, and sowing seeds that benefit others, staying massively congruent with your values and your principles, and for me, principles of chiropractic as well. So I have to sell and close you based on 100% total honesty. And if I say something's going to go away, That's dishonest. If I say something might go away, I am now outside of the model that I claim to be practicing in, the non-therapeutic model. I'm outside of that logic. Therefore, I'm outside of my scope of practice. And now that would be a liability. And having amazing relationships. Because like you said, and like Zig Ziglar said from Mississippi, shout out to another Mississippi boy, you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. And then after that, making tons of money in that affluence. And as you and I both know, affluence and wealth is way far beyond money. Money is just a small byproduct of it, and it all starts here. And then if we keep going further, once we're making all that tons of money, we have autonomy, freedom, true power. The only true power that exists on this planet, I'm quoting Rollo Tomasi, is the freedom to do what you want to do. Now you have power. And through all these things, you have that autonomy. And the last, but certainly not the least, whenever we're making progress equals one thing. Quoting Tony Robbins, progress equals joy. Progress equals happiness. If you have a purpose, you have a mission, and you have these goals, and you're making progress, you are creating your happiness, because that is an emotion. And that emotion is not, we're supposed to feel anger. We're supposed to feel fear. We're supposed to feel frustration, especially when we're off purpose. But if you're making progress to these things that are very important to you in the relationship with your spouse and your children, in the relationship with your unbelievable staff here. And let me tell you about your staff, Brad. Your IT department, for me, for 7 years, have solved every problem. There is nothing they can't solve, and they do it with a great attitude. Since I came off the plane here in Vegas, I've been treated like a rock star by Rhett, by Anthony, and then meeting Chase and meeting all the young ladies who've been helping me and sending me emails and welcoming me here. My name was on the kiosk like a rock star when I came in here. This experience, and I'm going to say this, I've trained my whole life to be here right now with you.
Well, thank you. You've done well. You've done well.
Can I give you a gift before we wrap this up?
Certainly.
Tony Robbins said that 90-something% of people who start a book never finish it. So I wrote a book that's unbelievably easy to read, and it explains the two models of chiropractic, therapeutic and non-therapeutic. You know this, and you will know as much as most chiropractors practicing on this planet.
Thank you.
And also, I know that you are a cigar connoisseur. Mississippi has so many hidden gems. And
can people get this book?
Yes, they can. That's currently available on Amazon and on my website, thefamilychiropractors.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not even a large book, so I'm going to know more than chiropractors quickly.
Yes, because I wanted to make it absolutely 100% to the point, because I want folks to build momentum that they started the book and they finished it. Over 90% of people who start a book never finish it. And I want to change that. And I want to change that with information that will make you knowledgeable on a specific profession, which is chiropractic. I have a wonderful associate, Dr. Blythe Peoples, and his fiance and her family have this amazing cigar shop. And it's called Spring Street Cigars. It's a national cigar shop that's amazing. I'm not a cigar connoisseur, but what we put here is we put a package together for you and your crew of their finest cigars. And I got some information from my office as well.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Very nice. Very nice. You're a good man, gentleman, and a scholar.
Thank you.
I like the definition or the reason for the book being small.
Yes, sir.
Because I have a book, obviously, and at some point I'm like, I got to get this book out. So I kind of finished it. Then I thought, man, maybe I could have wrote more. Does it need to be bigger? It's got quite a few pages, but it's still more of a smaller book than a big book. And I thought the bigger the book, the better the book. But what you just said makes me feel good about doing what I did with that book.
Good. Can I buy it now before we?
I'll give you one.
Thank you.
and tell, I want you to read it and then tell me how you did. Even though I think the Audible is better. So when people download the audio, because it's me reading it and I love that. I know what I was trying to say. So the read is better than the read.
Yes.
But I'll give you a hard copy and,
I'll do both. I'll read it and then I'll listen to it on Audible.
Well, thanks for coming in. I might bring you back. Maybe we'll get, because I can't wait for this episode to drop and hear other chiros and other doctors start talking smack.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Brad.
Folks, you heard him. Go get checked. Go to a chiropractor, get your vertebral subluxation adjusted on a regular basis, and chime in and tell me what changed, if anything changed. Till next time, keep it real.